Welcome to episode number 3 of the Brewed by Jay podcast. And today I'm not exactly sure what we're going to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about the coffee industry as I've seen it and experienced it in the past nearly 2 years, a little over a year and a half or so of being in the coffee industry full time. And my journey within the specialty coffee industry, finding my place in the specialty coffee industry, and the good, the bad, baristas, where I want to discuss a little bit into the wages and things like that. And so before we begin, I'd like to proudly announce that this episode is brought to you by UFO Dripper. Oh man. I don't know when I'll ever get a sponsor in this podcast series. I doubt I ever will, but never say never. I mean, I never ever thought I'd be be an owner of a dripper business. If you told me that 5 years ago, I would have said you're crazy. That there's just no chance because I was on a completely different path then. But such is life. Nonetheless, yeah. So let's chat a little bit about the coffee industry and specifically how I've experienced it. So when I first got into specialty coffee industry as a worker of the industry, I did already have a few connections within the specialty coffee industry because specialty coffee is one of those industries that is very easy for you to be industry adjacent while not actually being in the field as a full-time job. You can easily access some of the industry superstars. You can easily access what some of the industry's most powerful and influential people are saying, some of their beliefs and some of their businesses. You could be you could be a consumer of those businesses. Heck, you could even create something as a little side gig and make a decent chunk of cash if that's a route that you want to go about. But nonetheless, point being that specialty coffee is one of those things that is very easy for you to have access to. And in that sense, it's a good thing. And one of the reasons why I'd even moved to Korea in the first place is because I wanted to explore specialty coffee specifically in Korea. And I think that was an incredibly smart move. It was a very lucky move. It was a very lucky decision. But nonetheless, me being in Korea has put me in a position where I was able to make so many different contacts and connections incredibly quickly. I mean, incredibly quickly. I basically can confidently say that I know and have met nearly every single one of the key players in the Korean specialty coffee market, either once, twice, or I continue to see them or do business with them. And so that's one of the perks of specialty coffee industry being so small, not even just at a national level, but also at an international level, is that you can very easily make and develop these connections and relationships if you put the effort into it. And if you have something of value to offer, because if you have no value to offer, then why would those relationships exist in the first place? That's kind of the way I see friendships. That's kind of the way I see any relationship, really. A romantic relationship, even a family relationship, is there's always a constant value exchange that is occurring. Even between you and I, at this exact moment, you're here listening to some of the things that I have to say. You're here to listen to the opinions that I may have about the specialty coffee industry, and because you believe that what I have to say holds some form of value, which I greatly appreciate. So, specialty coffee industry, very, very small, very, very tight, and also very, 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 very divisive. I mean, it's just such a divided community that there's almost cults. There's almost Yeah, they're like little cults. They're like little micro cults that exist everywhere. In Korea, there's a few of those cults that exist. And globally, there's definitely a few that exist. America, the United States specialty coffee industry is incredibly unique in that there are so many different types of people from different backgrounds and different ethnicities, different races, different genders, and things like that. And it makes for a very, very dynamic culture that exists in the states, whereas in Korea it can be a little bit more so monotone just because of the cultural background of Korea, where it's predominantly just Koreans. And so, yeah, it's definitely a little bit less diverse in that sense. But anyway, specialty coffee industry, if you want to get into it, it can seem incredibly intimidating, of course. I remember my first few expos that I've gone to feeling like I just don't belong because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any friends. And that didn't really stop me, I guess, from introducing myself and just inserting myself into the industry, because that's what you have to do, is you have to insert your own self into different situations and different opportunities, especially if you're just starting out, or even if you've been around for a long time. There's a lot of people that have been around in the industry, that have been working in the industry for a really long time, but nobody knows about them just because they've just not made any noise. Or maybe it's because the work they do is just not seen as a very valuable thing by many, many people, which is why they don't have any recognition, which is okay. Of course, if recognition is what you're looking for, if fame is what you're looking for, then you should have made more noise. And so there's different ways to go about doing this, of course, but you must make noise. If you want your voice to be heard, if you want your voice to be shared, you must make noise. Speaking of the number of years that I've worked in the specialty coffee industry, it's so funny to me the amount of people that I encounter where the very first thing that they start off with whenever they're in an interview or anything like that, of share your origin story, or who are you in the specialty coffee industry? And they always start with, hi, my name is this, and I've been working in the specialty coffee industry for X number of years, as if that's supposed to give them some level of credibility. And it doesn't, because oftentimes than not, a lot of people in the specialty coffee industry, and a lot of people just in any industry, just a lot of people in general, don't change. They've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. What they've done is, for 10 years, they've just been doing repetitions. They've just been repeating 10 years of doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. 10 years of repetition versus even 1 year of constant iteration. I guarantee you the 1 year of constant iteration is going to hold significantly more power, significantly more impact, and significantly more things just in general. 1 year of constant iteration versus 10 years of just repetition. If you were to argue that 10 years of repetition holds greater value, then I guess you and I are just always going to agree to disagree. Or maybe you won't be able to agree to disagree, which there's certainly a lot of those folks in the specialty coffee industry as well, where it seems they just lack agency. It seems they are so incredibly entitled and think that they should be spoon fed their own missions by others that have different platforms. And to me, I just find that so jarring. I just find that so disturbing to watch people that claim to support free will, agency, and things like that, and then they don't understand the concept of entitlement, where you believe that instead of you doing the thing that is required for you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, others should do the action for you. And that is the definition of entitlement and lack of agency, which I see a lot in this world and in this industry, which pains me to say, but it's actually an incredible thing. If you are someone with agency, if you are someone that works hard, if you are someone that is willing to put in the work and do the things that are required for you to get to the place that you want to be, when everybody else sucks, it makes things incredibly easy for you to win. And you can look at that statement and you can look at that fact one way or the other. And I hope that if you're listening to the things that I have to say, then you can choose the winning path, the path where you hold control of your own life, where you are piloting the not only the direction, the speed, but the final destination that you wish to get to. And when I talk about things like this, there are examples that I can provide. There's a kind of a funny saying around amongst the coffee professionals that if I had $1 for every time a person has told me that they'd send me a bag of coffee, I'd be a millionaire. And that's so true. I mean, I wouldn't be a millionaire. I wouldn't exactly be a millionaire. There's certainly not. I certainly don't have a million people reaching out to me wanting to give me free coffee. But I certainly do have a lot of people that have told me, hey, let me send you this, let me send you this, let me send you that. Can we do something together? And then nothing. Every single one of those are missed opportunities. Every single one of those are opportunities that though they could have captured to create something unique, to put themselves in a situation where they were given more opportunities, but they blew the easiest step, which is to send the thing that they're selling, by the way, to people that can help promote them. I mean, it is mind-boggling. It is really. I have a difficult time understanding why it is that way. Why people say that they're going to send something over and then they never do it. It's like I agreed to free promotion for you because I considered you a friend, or I considered you to be someone that I know and care about. And it's like, why even say something if it's not something you can hold up to? And it's such a simple thing. It's such a simple thing. It's as simple as going to the post office and dropping off the product that you said you would drop off, whether it's a product or a service or whatever. So many people in the coffee industry cannot seem to keep their words. So many people in specialty coffee cannot seem to ship out a simple bag of coffee that they said they would send out to their friends. And they expect something miraculous to happen in their lives, in their careers, when they can't even hold a simple promise. I think that says so much. I think that says so much. I think the fact that so many of us in the industry can say that we have friends that have said that they would send us a bag of coffee and it just never happened goes to show how incompetent people are. I hate to say it, but that's incompetent. That's just you blowing it. That's you not being a good friend. If I say that I'm going to give you something, then I'm going to give you something. If I say that I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do something. Your reputation isn't just something that's made up. Your reputation is something that builds. It's evidence that's stacked against you, whether it's good or bad. And if you stack enough bad evidences against your own self, then guess what? Nobody's going to want to work with you. Nobody's going to want to give you the opportunities that you could have had to further your career, which is an incredibly rare thing in specialty coffee, especially as a barista. Because baristas are not paid a whole lot of money. I have a lot of barista friends, and I want them to be able to live a life full of dignity, full of self fulfillment, and full of respect. But if you can't respect your own self, it's incredibly selfish for you to expect others to respect you. That's of course not to say that all baristas are that way, that all coffee professionals are that way. That's not even to say that making money should be the pure objective of your life. Look, I have friends that make millions of dollars a year, and I have friends that make $35,000 a year, $45,000 a year, and are incredibly happy. And on the other side, there are friends that I have that have just ungodly amounts of money, but are incredibly unhappy. The objective should be happiness, not some dollar amount. Of course, money is incredibly important, but the objective should be happiness, should be experiences. I like money because it's the only thing that allows me to buy the experiences. And I believe experiences are the only thing that money can buy. The fact that I'm able to purchase this microphone so that you guys can listen to my voice in higher clarity. Right? This is an experience. I didn't just buy a microphone to look cool in front of a microphone. I bought a microphone to enhance your experience. I bought a microphone for myself to enhance the experience of being a creator. It's experiences that we buy. Even with coffee, even with geisha. It's not status that I'm buying through geisha, it's experience. It's a sensory experience that I get to buy. And that's what's so sad is oftentimes when we talk about purchasing things in the specialty coffee industry, it's immediately tied to some form of a title, some form of a position of privilege, which there are certainly positions of privileges that exist in specialty coffee and in the world. What am I going to do? What am I going to do that some kid was born into incredible amounts of money and gets to roll around in Rolls Royces and McLarens when I'm in an SUV, right? What am I going to do about that? It's just, that's out of my control, but that's privilege for sure. Yeah, of course it exists. To say privilege doesn't exist would be foolish. But it would also be equally as foolish to look down at people that were given different privileges and are trying their damn hardest to make something with it, to make something out of it, to make something positive out of it. It's really incredible how quick we are to judge. Oftentimes we demand transparency, not because we want transparency, but to cast judgment on others. There are roasteries that don't disclose transparency reports. There are roasteries that don't disclose the coffee prices that they paid because different roasteries pay different amounts for the same coffee. Did you know that? Did you know that not every roastery pays the same price for the same coffee? And that some roasteries buy by bags of coffees. Some roasteries buy containers of coffees, and some roasteries buy a single kilogram of coffee. And there are price differences. There are price differences. Also, there's connections and relationships. And if a producer favors one roaster over the other, then well, it may be incredibly challenging for that one roaster with a favored relationship to expose and be transparent about the price that they pay for those coffees, because then that would disrupt the market not in a positive manner. Even if I was a producer, right? Even if I was a producer and I was benefiting from a relationship with a specific roaster, and I'm very, very thankful that that roaster is working with me, because by working with that roaster, I'm able to get my coffee to so many different parts of the world in large quantities and make a ton of money. Well, maybe I give my friend a little bit of a lower price. And maybe I don't want that pricing to be transparent. Maybe I don't want transparency. Have we ever thought about that? Oftentimes, more often than not, it's smaller roasteries that are able to be transparent about their prices because they're probably paying the highest. And what they expose and what they allow into the world likely doesn't have that much of an impact. Now, of course, there are massive, massive specialty coffee businesses such as Counterculture and Onyx that do an incredible job with their transparency reports and exactly how much the producer was paid and things like that. But there's always different perspectives. There's always different cases and there's always different scenarios. And so I think that in specialty coffee, to cast judgment on others by demanding transparency is just such a toxic thing. Because again, there are many different scenarios where this can apply in many different ways. Shoot, I mean, even just in Panama, there are producers, really, really well known producers, that are charging different prices for the same coffee to different people, to different competitors. If you're a well known competitor, if you're a famous competitor, then a producer may want you to use their coffee on the stage because it will help them with marketing. And so they may charge $50 a kilo for a coffee that's $300 a kilo to everybody else, right? And what are we going to do about that? What's he going to say? What's that competitor going to say? Is he supposed to be transparent and tell the other competitor that's using the same exact coffee but paid 6 times as much as he did, "Hey, you got screwed. I paid so much less." Well, like, it's a dichotomy that is very challenging to solve. And with these incredibly challenging situations, we need to be a bit more considerate of the other scenarios that may exist. Nonetheless, let's move on to another topic. Baristas. This is a hot one. A lot of baristas are unhappy with their pay. Actually, I would say that most people in general are unhappy with their pay and wish that they were paid more for the same work that they're doing. I mean, I sure wish I was paid more for whatever it is that I'm doing right now. Fact is, if you are a barista, you're never going to make a whole lot of money just by being a barista. By that, I mean someone that serves and and by that I mean someone that makes and serves coffee beverages. If your job, if your source of income is just that activity, it's going to be incredibly challenging for you to make a lot of money. Now, thankfully, as a barista, that is not the only thing that you can do. You can do a lot of different things. You can do so many different things. It's just that the specialty coffee industry just lacks structure. It's not a corporate where you can just climb a ladder. Sure, I mean, there's some structure. Maybe you're an intern barista, or maybe you're just a shadowing barista, or whatever it may be. You go from a part-time barista to a full-time barista, then perhaps you're the head barista at a cafe, and then Maybe you become a manager of multiple different locations and you take on more responsibility, you take on more roles, and your pay increases. But that's not the only thing that you can do. As a barista, you can create a personal brand. As a barista, you can also pursue other jobs. As a barista, you can also be a business owner. As a barista, you can be an entrepreneur. I know many baristas, I know many full time baristas that are entrepreneurs. Not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. I know friends and I know people that have tried to be entrepreneurs and lived the self employed life, but just wasn't a good fit for them. That's okay. That's okay. We need baristas, we need cafes. And it's so toxic when people talk down on baristas as if it's just an entry level job, because that's not true. Without baristas, there is no specialty coffee industry. And so if you're one of those toxic people that talk down on full time baristas as if they are something that can just be easily replaced, or as if they're people that don't deserve dignity because all they do is pull shots, well, you're wrong. And I would question the values that you have, and I hope to never ever work with you or do business with you. Every single person, every single role that exists in the specialty coffee industry is valuable. Even people on the internet that disagree with me and make fun of me, make memes with me, make memes of me, even those people are valuable contributors to the industry. My critics, people that hate the things that I have to say, are incredibly valuable contributors to this industry. Matter of fact, I've learned a lot from those people. I've learned a lot about what to say, what not to say. I've checked my own self, and Dave checked me in times where I needed to be checked. If we don't hold each other accountable, then there's no growth. Growth doesn't happen in comfortable conversations. Growth happens when we hold each other accountable for the things that we say, for the things that we do, for the things that we stand for. That's when growth happens. In the uncomfortable areas, in the uncomfortable conversations of calling each other out is where growth happens. And if I never contradict my own self, that wouldn't be a sign of consistency. That would be a sign of lack of growth. So I'm thankful for literally every single person that has ever contributed to this industry. Because without a single one of those people, none of this happens. None of this works. None of this works. There's no Brew by Jay. There's no UFO Dripper. There's no Mokunik. There's no Option O. There's no La Marzocco. There's nothing. And so we must learn to embrace one another. We don't have to be buddy buddies. We don't have to be friends. I have a lot of people that I've cut out in my life, especially on social media, because social media is an incredible platform, but it can also be a multiplier of life that no one's supposed to encounter at this volume. And so it's just not very healthy for you to hold conversation with every single one of the people that you ever come in contact with on social media. And because that's where I'm growing my personal brand, of course, I kind of have to engage. I have a bit of an obligation to engage. Some of my mentors have told me to post it and forget about it. They've told me to not engage in comments. They've told me to not respond to messages. They've told me that I don't have to do any of that to grow a personal brand. They told me that my only responsibility to grow a personal brand is just to post and just to continue to share ideas that I have and provide value. But I love people. I love my little community that I have. I love seeing you guys. I love hearing when people come up to me and say, "Oh, Jay, I've been listening to your podcast." I mean, it's like I have 800 subscribers on YouTube. 800. For someone to come to me at a pop-up or at an event, or if I'm just sitting in a cafe and say, "Jay, I've been loving your podcast." Like that just means a lot, right? And I'm sure as I continue to do this, there's going to be more of those encounters, but I just love engaging with the community. I started this because I love engaging with the community. I used to host people in my own home, strangers, every single week, multiple times a week, to showcase what specialty coffee is and for the love of coffee and for the people. And so I continue to engage, and I want to get to know you guys. It's just impossible to get to know every single one of you. And nonetheless, yeah, we don't have to be buddy buddies. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to follow each other. But we should always respect each other's existences. We should always recognize each other's humanities. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean that I'm going to dismiss your humanity. Doesn't mean that I'm going to come after your dignity. It doesn't have to be that way. Anyway, going back to baristas and baristas not being able to make a ton of money. Yeah, it's true. It's true. If you are a career barista and your position and your role is just barista, that's your title, that's your job, chances are you're not going to make a whole lot of money. And if money is something that you're after, then you need to do additional things or different things. Honestly, the specialty coffee industry as a whole, it's a very difficult industry to make financial gains through. Most of the specialty coffee cafes operate on lower margins than commodity cafes. Most of the specialty coffee businesses operate on lower margins. And also, specialty coffee as an industry, I mean, shoot, the biggest roasters in Korea are doing around 15 to 20 million a year. And that's it. I mean, you look at 15 to 20 million a year and you go, whoa, that's a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of things, if you really think about other industries, those are small businesses. And so I think if you're a barista and you want to make a lot of money, then perhaps you just need to go do something different. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that the tide rising is a good thing. There's a lot more baristas that are taking matters into their own hands and exploring different methods and opportunities in which they can create more opportunities to make more money with. And there's some really fantastic examples out there. I mean, I don't want to name names, and so I'm not going to do that, especially when it comes to money. But there are incredible people that are out there that are just getting after it. And most times it's through content creation and through personal brand, or it's by providing other forms of values that people are in search of. And so, yeah, that's those are just some of the things that I wanted to discuss, some of the things that are on my mind. And I want to continue this series of discussing things that I've experienced in the specialty coffee industry. We didn't get too deep into many different things. I feel like we were just kind of all over the place, and I apologize for that. This is my third episode. I'm not supposed to be good at this. just like you're not supposed to be good at brewing after brewing 3 cups of coffees. I'm not supposed to be good at podcasting after doing 3 episodes. So if you're gonna shit on me. But truth is, I'm not supposed to be good at this yet. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch all y'all next time. Deuces.